Chelsea have made European history. They are the first side ever to win all 4 European competitions after beating Real Betis by 4-1 in the Conference League final. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at how they did it, including a look at why Chelsea struggled so much in the first half, how they combated that, and how this man, Cole Palmer, completely changed the game. Chelsea really struggled in that first half, going into the second half 1-0 down in fact. So what went so wrong? Well, before we talk about the brilliance of Real Betis and the way that Manuel Pellegrini set up his side to nullify Enzo Maresca's system, I just want to mention the inclusion of Badiashile. I'm not sure whether Colwell had an injury, it's unclear to me, but the inclusion of Badiashile was definitely a strange one, and it hampered Chelsea's progression. He's just not a natural passer, he's not natural in the way that he wants to progress the ball forwards, and his pace in passing is somewhat lacking, and that led to a number of turnovers once Real Betis managed to get a foothold within the game. Speaking of which, Real Betis did a fantastic job of condensing the space in the middle of the pitch. Everyone at this point is aware of how Enzo Maresca wants to build his system, and whether that's right or wrong, that needs to be discussed at a later date. But what he likes to do is invert Gusto, bring those 4 midfielders to try and have a stranglehold on the centre of the park, and then progress the ball from there. The problem that he had, though, was with the positioning of these Betis midfielders. In bringing in the wingers in Abde and Anthony, and really dropping back Isco and Bakambu, it meant that the aggression that came from Cardoso and Fornals onto Enzo and Palmer really condensed the centre of the park, preventing Chelsea from being able to play those progressive passes into midfield, and effectively taking Cole Palmer, their main player, out of the game. This gave Chelsea a number of questions. Do they try to go out wide? But if they go out wide, they have an option of it being intercepted by the good Betis wingers who are always looking to try and intercept those passes, or do they try to go long? But in going long, what you ended up having was Jackson with a 2v1, Jackson struggling to get any joy out of the 2 Betis centre-backs, and all of a sudden Betis started to get a real foothold in the game, and this was down to their great defensive work, but also the midfield aggression that really started to create turnovers. And once you start to create turnovers with the way that Chelsea want to go forwards, you have the ability for Abde to then utilise this space. You have acres of space that Gusto has left on the other side of Chalobah to be able to then exploit. And then you had Isco dropping into a midfield area once he got away from Gusto or Caicedo, and all of a sudden he starts to pull some strings. All of a sudden Betis get more space than they're necessarily used to, and then you have big problems. And this is exactly what happened for Betis' goal. So what do you have here? You've got them transitioning forwards. The ball has been recovered and now they're going forwards. They're trying to attack. Notice the positioning as well of Malo Gusto. He's right here. That's extremely crucial because what you're giving is acres of space out on this far side. This is space that Abde is then going to notice and want to run into. And it really quickly gets seen by Isco, who is super aware of this situation. Notice he's on the ball currently and he's looking for a pass. He's scanning for a pass. He finds his pass and it's just going to go across goal towards Abde, who is then looking to, as I said earlier, exploit the space that's been left by Gusto. The space that he's then going to be able to take to go and score a goal. Notice the positioning of Chalobah again. He's trying to come in field because he's marking the forward, and it just leaves so much space because Gusto is inverted. The ball has been transitioned over, and it means that Chelsea have a big problem. Abde gets the ball and then has enough time to be able to set himself and then fire it across goal in a fantastic manner into that bottom right hand corner. It's a fantastic shot. It's a great goal. Only 8 minutes in, and Chelsea have a lot of work to do. Betis were brilliant. But Chelsea completely flipped the game on its head in the second half. So how do they do it? First of all, personnel is a massive, massive plus point. Colwell coming on for Badiashile, Reece James coming on for Malo Gusto, and Jadon Sancho coming on for Pedro Neto. This gave Madueke the ability to go out on the right-hand side, his more favoured side, and it also gives Sancho the ability to start to cut inside. So all of a sudden, really good plus points. They start to progress the ball that little bit easier. But there's still that major problem in the centre of the park. The problem that Betis is opposing. So how do you deal with that? How do you combat that? Well, to understand how to exploit that, you need to understand where the space is. Football is all about space, and especially football at this level, at the highest level, it's all about taking the space and utilizing the space that your opponent has afforded you against them. And where that space is for Betis and for Chelsea is on the far side of both of these wingers. Because they're playing so narrow, on the other side of them, on the wide areas, there's a lot of space to start to exploit. And that's not space for your wingers to go back onto, because you're all of a sudden being negative. You're having a negative approach. You need your wingers to be as proactive as possible and as high as possible. That pushes the fullbacks back, and it gives Chelsea extra space and extra momentum to go forwards. So how do you occupy that space properly? What Enzo Maresca and Chelsea came up with was pretty genius, and instead of having their midfielders actually flood the centre of the park, instead of having them in the centre, they moved both Palmer and Enzo wide, and they pushed them further out towards these wide channels in looking to isolate and take this space. Now this has a massive problem for Betis, and it caused them a load of problems, and a big question: what do they do now? Fornals and Cardoso can't follow their respective markers because they don't want to leave the centre of the park vacated. Isco and Bakambu are still doing a great job of preventing the ball going into those deep-lying Chelsea midfielders in Caicedo and James. But with Palmer and Enzo almost splitting and taking those spaces out wide, you can't do this. Because if you do this, you've then got acres of space for Jackson to run into, which is exactly what Chelsea want. So in staying where they are, you're also still giving them license to roam. And all of a sudden, Chelsea start to find players. Chelsea start to find players to be able to progress the ball forwards. You start to get overloads. You give that freedom to the Chelsea players to then go forwards. Go and find those 1-2s. Go and find those overloads in certain areas. And then you're able to go forwards. In Cole Palmer's case, you're able to find this outside right channel. You're able to pick the ball up and then start to drive forwards. This has a knock-on effect for Enzo Fernandez, because he's seen Palmer on this far side, and what you want from your other midfielder is deep-lying runs into the box, attacking, aggressive runs. Frank Lampard made a name for himself in doing exactly this, arriving in the box late, making yourself dangerous. With Palmer driving forwards, it naturally drops this Betis back line, and that has a huge knock-on effect as well for Enzo Fernandez, because as this Betis line drops, it gives Enzo Fernandez a wider window, a longer window to make his deep-lying run. And because the likes of Fornals isn't able to necessarily follow him because he's been split off as well into that wide channel, it means that he's essentially got a free run. And this is how Chelsea broke down this Betis back line. This is how they broke down their defensive unit, isolating that space, taking that space, affording themselves that space. It might not be in the same way that they normally build up, but the flexibility within this Chelsea system, the maverick nature of Cole Palmer, the quality of Cole Palmer completely changed this game, and the positioning that Chelsea took up in the second half gave them the ability to then go forwards. And once you open the door, the floodgates really do open. And you can see this really clearly for Chelsea's first goal. Remember, they're 1-0 down, they're looking to get back into the game, so what have you got? Notice the positioning of your two attacking midfielders. You've got Cole Palmer here, who's dropped back to receive the pass, and you've also got Enzo Fernandez. Now, remember what Betis were doing in the first half. You had those midfielders charging onto the Chelsea midfielders. Notice the positioning of these two Betis players. These are the two Betis midfielders. Now, they can't follow Fernandez and Palmer. It's just not possible. They can't split wide enough because of the space that would be left in the centre of the park. And this is why it was so good from Chelsea and Enzo Maresca and Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer picks the ball up and starts to drive. And all of a sudden, look at the positioning of Enzo Fernandez now. Look at this. Really, really good. But look at the acres of space that he's in as well. Again, you can't have Anthony marking him. You're not going to have the right back marking him because he's terrified about Sancho. You can't have your midfielder marking him because he's gone from out to in, from that wide position out to the inside position. And he's also really, really preoccupied by the great run that you're going to get from Cole Palmer. It is super good from Chelsea and a great way to combat that Betis system. So once Cole Palmer starts to drive, you've then got this Betis backline dropping. And we mentioned that just a second ago. The moment you have them dropping, it gives Enzo Fernandez a little bit more of a window. Enzo a little bit more time to pick his run, to pick his timing of his run, and it gives them just a little bit more space, a little bit more ability. Palmer cuts inside and then is looking for a cross. You've got Jackson looking to make a run, Enzo looking to make a run. You could even have Sancho try to make a run towards that back post. Sancho is just off of your screen, but you know what I'm saying. You understand where this is coming from. Palmer makes a great cross into this area, and this is one of the best crosses you're going to see this season. It is absolutely fantastic. It's completely on the money. You've got a great run from Enzo Fernandez from deep. It's fantastic, and he manages just to get his head on it pretty brilliantly, and it breaks that real momentum that Betis had. It changes the game completely. It's a fantastic cross, it's a brilliant header, and all of a sudden Chelsea are in the game. And once Chelsea got that goal, you felt the momentum of the game completely shift, and if they were to get another, you'd feel that the game and the tie was over, and that's exactly what happened in this moment. This is just 5 minutes later, and although it's an amazing piece of brilliance from Cole Palmer, which we're going to be focusing on, we also need to take note of what's happening in the centre of the box, because that has a huge knock-on effect for the way this goal is created. We have Nicolas Jackson and Bartra really jostling and wrestling for a position, and that's really key. Remember that this happens, because what happens later really does change. We have Cole Palmer out on this right-hand side, and he's going to just retreat a little bit. And he's going to retreat to try and give himself a bit of time, try and give himself a bit of space, and open up an angle. He's continuously scanning to see if there's a pass on, to see if there's a cross on. Remember, he didn't want to pass backwards. He doesn't want to pass sideways. He said that in a press conference. He said that he just wanted to play forwards. He wanted to be that aggressor. He wanted to be that main creator, and that's exactly what he does right here. But remember what I mentioned in the box. Jackson and Bartra, we're going to keep an eye on this situation because Jackson's your goal scorer, Palmer is the player who assists, and as this plays on, you've got a good moment happening. This is absolutely crucial. So because Chelsea are retreating, because Palmer retreats a little bit, you've got this Betis backline looking to jump a little bit. They're looking to push up. This is really good, playing that offside line, pushing them up, really condensing the pitch. But what else have you got? You've also got Bartra not now holding on to Jackson. You've now got them looking to push. But that's a key moment, because as Palmer spins, we can see that right here, as Palmer spins right here, he's then going to go back on himself and start to turn this Betis defence. And then that causes massive problems. Now they're looking to turn back towards their own goal, and it creates absolute chaos. But what else does it do? It means that Jackson is free. Between both Betis centre-backs, as Palmer flips, you've got Jackson now between those two. So as it goes forwards, as Palmer drives, you've now got him in a bit of space. Here, you've got Jackson in almost acres of space in terms of being in a penalty area between two centre-backs, and it gives Palmer something to aim at. In that channel, he's not necessarily looking for Jackson, he's looking to get it into this zone. And it's such a good cross. He's got such quality. He is magic. He's exploited that space yet again, turned his defender, turned his opposition winger in this particular case. It is so, so good. And Jackson managed to get something on it. And of course, turn the game completely in Chelsea's favour. But Betis tried as hard as they possibly could, but they just didn't have the squad depth to be able to match it. Chelsea had immense quality, and they managed to go on and exploit Betis that little bit further. Betis committing themselves to try and win the game, and Chelsea ending up scoring 2 more. It's a fantastic game from Chelsea to make European history. But of course, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What did you make of this game? How did you find the match? And what did you make of Chelsea? Chelsea fans, let me know how you're feeling to win yet another trophy. I'd love to hear from you, so please do get involved in the comment section below. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something new, and hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.